Have you ever wondered what it feels like to be a ghost in your own life? Not because you've faded away, not because you've done something unforgivable, but because your very touch, your very presence makes people tremble, recoil, and flee as if you're a storm they can't outrun? Yeah, that's me. I'm Amara, and I wasn't always this way. There was a time when I was just a girl, laughing with friends, dreaming of a future filled with love, a mate, a place to belong. But that was before the curse, before my world turned inside out, before I became the thing people fear without even knowing why. I grew up in the pack, nestled in the heart of the Silverwood, where the pines whispered secrets and the moonlight painted our paths. Life was simple. Warm, like a fire that never went out. I had friends, Lila, who'd braid my hair while gossiping about the boys, Rowan, who'd challenge me to races through the meadows, my parents, who'd watch me with pride as I trained to embrace my wolf. I was 17, full of dreams, my heart open to the world. I wanted everything. A mate who'd see me for me, a family to build, a pack to call home. I thought I had time. I thought I had a future. But all that changed the night I turned 18. It was supposed to be a celebration, my coming-of-age ritual, the moment my inner wolf would fully awaken. The pack gathered under a full moon, the elders chanting, their voices weaving through the air like threads of silver. The ritual was ancient, passed down through generations, meant to bind me to my wolf and the pack's strength. My family had always been part of it, but no one mentioned the old stories, whispers of a bloodline flaw, a forgotten ancestor who'd angered the moon goddess centuries ago. I didn't know. None of us did. Not until it was too late. The ritual began as it always had. The elders drew symbols in the earth. The fire crackled, and I stood in the circle, my heart pounding with excitement. I could feel the energy, the pulse of something wild and alive stirring inside me. But then something shifted. The air grew heavy, the chants faltered, and a cold, sharp pain sliced through my chest. I gasped, collapsing to my knees, the world spinning. The elders' faces twisted in confusion, then fear. My mother screamed my name, but her voice sounded distant, like it was underwater. When I reached for her, my hand trembling, she froze. Her eyes, warm and familiar moments before, widened in terror. She stumbled back, clutching her chest, as if my touch had burned her soul. She whispered, "Amara, what are you?" I didn't understand. Not then. But it kept happening. The next day, I met Lila by the river, desperate to talk, to make sense of it. We'd been friends since we were kids, sharing secrets under the stars. I reached for her hand, just like always. But the moment our fingers touched, her face drained of color. Her breath hitched, her eyes filled with a primal, gut-wrenching fear. She yanked her hand away, backing up so fast she tripped over a root. "Don't touch me!" she cried, her voice sharp, like I was a monster. She ran, leaving me standing there, the river's gentle ripple mocking my confusion. It wasn't just Lila, it was everyone. My father, my brother, the pack elders. Every touch brought the same reaction: fear, horror, flight. Whispers spread like wildfire. "Amara's cursed. Stay away from her. She's tainted." The pack didn't exile me outright, but the looks, the distance, the silence, it was exile all the same. I couldn't stay, not when every glance felt like a blade, not when my own family flinched at my approach. So I left. I packed a small bag, slipped into the forest, and let the trees swallow me whole. I've been alone ever since, wandering from one patch of woods to another, sleeping under stars that feel colder every night. The curse is my shadow, my skin, my truth. It's in every touch I can't give, every connection I can't make. I'm a ghost, a whisper, a thing to be feared. But even now, in the quiet of the forest,
with only the wind for company, there's a spark inside me that refuses to die. A stubborn, foolish hope that maybe, just maybe, there's someone out there who can see past the curse. Someone who won't run. Someone who will stay. I don't know if that's possible, but I hold on to it. Because without that hope, what am I? Chapter 2. Echoes of Solitude. The forest has been my home for years now, though I've stopped counting exactly how many. Time doesn't move the way it used to. Back in the Silverwood pack, days were marked by laughter, training, the chatter of the pack around the fire. Now it's the seasons that keep track for me. The sharp bite of autumn's first frost, the heavy bloom of spring wildflowers, the suffocating heat of summer pressing down on my skin. Each one passes like a slow breath, a reminder that I'm still here, still moving, still carrying this curse that clings to me like damp moss. My name is Amara, and solitude has become my shadow, as constant as the curse that drives people away. I wander from one stretch of woods to another, never staying long enough to call any place home. The trees are my only companions, their branches whispering secrets I can't quite hear. I've learned to live with the quiet, but it's not that kind of silence that soothes. It's heavy, thick, filled with all the things I can't say, all the connections I can't make. Every night I lie under the stars, their cold light a cruel mirror to the warmth I used to know. I try not to think about the pack too much, but memories creep in like uninvited guests. I see Lila's grin as we raced through the meadows, her hair flying wild. I hear my father's deep laugh, the way he'd ruffle my hair and call me his little wolf. I feel my mother's arms around me, safe and sure, before the curse turned her eyes to fear. Those moments are so vivid, so sharp, they cut deeper than any blade. They remind me of what I've lost, what the curse stole when it made my touch a weapon, my presence a threat. I tell myself I'm used to it. I've learned to build fires, to find water, to move without leaving traces. I've learned to silence the ache in my chest, the one that begs for someone to look at me without flinching. But there are nights when the loneliness feels like it's eating me alive, gnawing at my bones until I'm hollow. I wonder why I keep going, why I don't just give up. What's the point of wandering when every step takes me further from the life I wanted? But then, in the quiet, there's this stubborn spark inside me, a flicker of hope I can't extinguish. It's foolish, maybe, but it's there, a whisper that says someone, somewhere might see me for who I am, not what I've become. It's what keeps my feet moving, what keeps me alive. Tonight, that spark feels restless. I'm by the lake again, the same one where it all fell apart. The water's surface is still, reflecting the fading light of a bruised purple sky. This is where I reached for Lila years ago, where her scream shattered something inside me. I haven't been back since. Not until now. I don't know why I'm here. Maybe it's the pull of memory, or maybe it's just that I'm tired of running from it. I sit on the bank, my knees pulled to my chest, the cool grass prickling my skin. The air smells of damp earth and pine, and the gentle lapping of the water should be calming, but it's not. My heart's racing, my fingers twitching against the ground. Something feels off. Not wrong exactly, but different, like the forest is holding its breath. I close my eyes, trying to steady myself, but the memories flood back. I see the pack gathered for my 18th birthday, the firelight dancing on their faces, the hope in their eyes before the ritual went wrong. I feel the cold shock of the curse sinking into me the moment my world changed. I shake my head, forcing the images away, but the unease lingers. Then I hear it. A faint crunch of leaves, too deliberate to be an animal. My eyes snap open, my hand instinctively reaching for the small knife at my belt. The forest is dark now, the last light swallowed by the trees, but I can feel it. Someone's out there. Footsteps, slow and measured, are coming closer. My pulse hammers in my throat, a mix of fear and something else. Anticipation, maybe. Who could be here, this deep in the woods? Someone from the pack come to drag me back? Or something else entirely? I stand, my body tense, my eyes scanning the shadows. The air feels charged, like the moment before a storm. Whatever's coming, whoever's coming, I'm not ready, but I'm not running. Chapter 3. The Stranger's Arrival. The forest was holding its breath, the air sick with a tension I couldn't name. My fingers tightened around the knife at my belt, its worn handle grounding me as the footsteps grew louder, closer, deliberate. The lake's edge glittered faintly under the moonlight, but the shadows beyond the water were impenetrable, swallowing everything except the crunch of leaves under boots. My heart pounded, a drumbeat echoing in my chest. I'd been alone for years. Years of dodging travelers, hunters, anyone who might cross my path and feel the curse's sting. No one came this deep into the Silverwood unless they were lost or looking for something. Or someone. I stood frozen, my breath shallow, every muscle coiled like a spring. Whoever this was, they weren't stumbling through the dark. They were coming for me. A figure emerged from the trees, tall and broad-shouldered, moving with a quiet confidence that made the hairs on my neck stand up. The moonlight caught his features, sharp jawline, dark hair falling just past his brow, eyes that seemed to glow with an intensity I couldn't look away from. He stopped a few paces away, hands raised slightly, palms open, like he knew I was ready to bolt or fight. "Easy," he said, his voice low, steady, like the rumble of distant thunder. "I'm not here to hurt you, Amara." My breath caught. He knew my name. No one had spoken it in years. Not since I'd left the pack. Not since the whispers turned it into a synonym for cursed. I tightened my grip on the knife, stepping back toward the lake's edge. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice sharper than I intended, betraying the fear curling in my gut. "How do you know who I am?" He tilted his head, studying me like I was a puzzle he'd been piecing together for years. "I've been tracking you," he said, his tone calm but weighted, like he was choosing each word with care. "I'm not here to hunt you, to help you. I know about the curse." His eyes flicked to my hands, as if he could see the invisible weight I carried, the thing that made people run screaming. "I know what it does, and I know where it came from." My pulse stuttered. The curse's origin was a wound I'd picked at for years, ever since that disastrous ritual on my 18th birthday, when an ancient bloodline flaw turned my touch into fear itself. The pack elders didn't know why it happened, or if they did, they never told me. I had pieced together fragments, stories of an ancestor who defied the moon goddess, a ritual gone wrong, but nothing solid. "What do you mean you know?" I asked, my voice trembling despite my effort to sound strong. "Who are you?" He took a step closer, slow, deliberate, his eyes never leaving mine. "My name is Thorne," and there was something in the way he said it, like it was a key to a door I hadn't known was locked. "I'm not from your pack, but I've studied its lore. The ritual that cursed you, it wasn't random. It was tied to your bloodline, to a pact broken centuries ago. I've seen it before in old texts, in stories from packs long gone. You're not alone in this, Amara, and you don't have to be." His words hit me like a gust of wind, stirring up hope and suspicion in equal measure. I wanted to believe him, wanted to believe someone could know the truth, could help me carry this burden, but trust was a luxury I'd lost years ago. "Why should I believe you?" I shot back, my knife still raised, though my hand shook slightly. "Why would you care about some cursed wanderer? What do you want from me?" Thorne's expression softened, but there was a fire in his eyes, a determination that made my chest tighten. He said, "I want you to stop running," his voice steady, but laced with something deeper, something that felt like recognition. The curse isn't your fault, but it's your fight. I can help you face it, break it, but you have to choose to try. You're stronger than you know, Amara. I've seen what you've survived. Most would have broken by now.
I stared at him, my mind racing. His words echoed that stubborn spark inside me, the one that refused to die even after years of loneliness. He didn't flinch, didn't look at me like I was a monster. There was no fear in his eyes, only a quiet intensity, like he saw something in me I'd forgotten existed. I lowered the knife slightly, my arm aching from holding it so tight. "Why me?" I whispered, the question slipping out before I could stop it. "Why now?" Thorne's lips curved into a faint, almost sad smile. "Because I've been searching for you," he said, "and because I believe you're worth fighting for." He stepped closer, close enough that I could feel the warmth of his presence, but he didn't reach for me. Not yet. "You don't have to trust me tonight, but let me show you there's a way out. Together." My heart setted, torn between fear and a flicker of something new. Connection, maybe, or the ghost of hope I'd buried long ago. I didn't know if I could trust him, didn't know if I dared to, but as I stood there, the lake whispering behind me, his steady gaze holding mine, I felt something shift. A faint thread, fragile but real, tying me to this stranger named Thorne. I wasn't ready to say yes, but I wasn't running either. Not yet. Chapter 4. Bound in the Cabin. The decision to follow Thorne didn't come easy. Standing there by the lake, with the moonlight casting long shadows across the water, I'd felt that fragile thread of connection pulling at me, but fear had always been my closest companion. Still, when he extended his hand, not touching me, just offering, I took it. Not his skin, of course. I kept a careful distance, but I nodded, and that was enough. "You're safe with me," he said, his voice a low promise that echoed in the quiet night. Safe. The word felt foreign, like something from a dream I'd long since abandoned. But as we walked through the darkening forest, his presence a steady warmth at my side, I let myself believe it, just for a moment. The cabin wasn't far, hidden deep in a grove of ancient oaks that seemed to guard it like sentinels. It was sturdy, built from rough-hewn logs, with a sloped roof covered in moss and a chimney that puffed lazy smoke into the starry sky. Thorne pushed the door open, revealing a cozy interior lit by the glow of a dying fire. The air smelled of pine and earth, mixed with something warmer, fresh bread, maybe, or herbs. He said, "This is mine," simply, stepping aside to let me enter first. "No one knows about it. Not the pack, not anyone. You'll be protected here." I hesitated on the threshold, my eyes scanning the space. A simple table, 2 chairs, a bed in the corner piled with furs, shelves lined with books and strange artifacts that hinted at his knowledge of ancient lore. It felt too intimate, too enclosed for someone like me, whose touch could shatter lives. "Why here?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Why bring me to your home?" Thorne's closed the door behind us, the click echoing like a finality. He turned to face me, his expression serious, those intense eyes locking onto mine. "Because the curse isn't just about fear, Amara. It's a bond, a twisted one, tied to your bloodline from that ritual gone wrong. When you're alone, it feeds on your isolation, growing stronger. But when you're near someone who understands it, like me, it pulls. It worsens if you're apart, like a tether that tightens and chokes. I've read the old texts, I've seen the signs. Keeping distance will only make it hurt more. For you, and potentially for others. We need to stay close. For now." His words sent a chill down my spine. A bond? It made sense in a horrifying way, the way the curse had always felt like a living thing, hungry and insistent. But close? The idea terrified me.
Every fiber of my being screamed to run, to protect him from what I was. "You don't know what you're asking," I said, backing toward the wall. "If I hurt you, if the curse touches you—" "You won't," he replied firmly, though there was a flicker of something, resolute, maybe, or his own hidden fear in his eyes. "I've prepared for this. Trust the process, Amara, just for a little while." The days that followed blurred into a rhythm that was both comforting and agonizing. Morning started with Thorne rising early, stoking the fire and preparing breakfast. Simple fare, like oats simmered with wild berries or flatbread warmed over the flames. I'd watched from the corner, careful not to get too near, but he'd slide a plate toward me with a nod, his movements deliberate, never invasive. "Eat," he'd say, and I would. The warmth of the food a stark contrast to the cold knot in my stomach. We'd eat in companionable silence at first, but gradually words crept in. He'd ask about my life before the curse, gentle questions about the pack, about the friends I'd lost, the dreams I'd harbored. One afternoon, as we sat by the window watching rain patter against the glass, I found myself opening up. I used to imagine running with my mate under the full moon, feeling the wind, the freedom. But now, it's just me and the shadows. Thorne listened, his gaze steady. No pity in his eyes, just understanding. He shared bits of his own story then. A lone wanderer, orphan young, who delved into forbidden lore to understand curses like mine. "I've seen others break under less. You're different, stronger." Those moments built a subtle comfort, like sunlight filtering through leaves. But tensions simmered underneath it all. Every accidental brush of elbows at the table, every shared laugh that made me lean too close, it sent my heart racing with dread. What if I slipped? What if my skin met his and the curse unleashed its terror? I'd pull away abruptly, excuses tumbling from my lips, retreating to the far side of the room. Internally, I wrestled with it, the fear of hurting him clashing with the growing ease of his company. He never pushed, never demanded more than I could give, but his presence was a constant pull, that bond he'd described tightening like an invisible chain. It came to a head one late night, the fire reduced to embers, casting flickering shadows across the cabin. I couldn't sleep, the weight of the day pressing on me, the stories I'd shared, the vulnerability I'd let slip. I sat by the window, staring into the darkness, my mind a whirlwind of doubt. Thorne stirred from his spot on the floor, insisting I take the bed, and approached slowly. "Can't sleep?" he asked, his voice a gentle rumble in the quiet. I shook my head, not turning. "I'm scared, Thorne. Scared of what this bond means. Scared I'll destroy you, just like I did everyone else." My voice cracked, the words spilling out like a dam breaking. Tears pricked my eyes, hot and unwelcome. He knelt beside me, close but not touching, his warmth a tangible force. "Amara, look at me." I did, reluctantly, and his eyes held mine with unyielding resolve. "I know the risks. I've read every scroll, every warning, but I'm here because I believe in you, in us. The curse doesn't define you. It's a chain we can break. I won't run. Not from you. We face this together or not at all." His words wrapped around me like a shield, easing the storm inside just enough to breathe. For the first time, the fear felt shared, not solitary. I nodded, a tentative trust blooming in my chest. The night stretched on, but in that moment, the cabin didn't feel like a cage anymore. It felt like a beginning. Chapter 5. Sparks of Connection. Days in Thorne's cabin have started to blur, each one slipping into the next like water through my fingers. The rhythm of our life here, chopping wood, cooking simple meals, sharing quiet moments by the fire, has woven a fragile thread of normalcy around me, something I haven't felt since before the curse took hold. My name is Amara, and I'm still the girl whose touch sparks fear. But with Thorne, it's different. There's a pull between us, a bond he says is tied to the curse, but feels like something more, something alive.
It's in the way his eyes find mine across the room, the way my heart skips when his hand brushes too close while passing a bowl of stew. It's dangerous, this feeling, but it's growing and I'm not sure I can stop it. Every morning, I wake to the sound of him moving, his boots scuffing the wooden floor, the soft clatter of a kettle over the fire. I watch him from the corner of my eye, pretending to focus on mending a torn cloak or sharpening my knife, but my gaze lingers on the curve of his shoulders, the way his dark hair catches the morning light, the steady strength in his hands as he splits logs outside. He's careful, always keeping a respectful distance, but there are moments, accidental, fleeting, when our worlds collide. His elbow grazes mine as we set the table, or our fingers brush when he hands me a mug of tea. Each time, my breath catches, waiting for the curse to surge, for that familiar terror to twist his face. But it doesn't. He just smiles, a quiet, knowing curve of his lips, and I feel something stir, a warmth, a spark that I've tried so hard to bury. Tonight, we're outside, sitting by a campfire just beyond the cabin. The flames crackle, casting dancing shadows across the clearing, and the air smells of burning pine and damp earth. Thorne sits across from me, his face half lit by the fire's glow, his eyes reflecting the flickering light like they hold secrets of their own. We've been talking for hours, the conversation drifting from the stars above to the stories we carry. He tells me about a time he tracked a rogue wolf through a blizzard, his voice low and steady, pulling me in. I share a memory of racing Leela through the Silverwood meadows, laughing until we collapsed in the grass. For a moment, it feels like I'm back there, before the curse, before I became a ghost in my own life. But the memory fades, and the weight of now settles back in. I shift, pulling my knees to my chest, the fire's warmth not quite reaching the cold knot in my stomach. Thorne, I say, my voice softer than I mean it to be. This, us, it scares me. The words spill out, raw and unfiltered, and I can't meet his eyes. Every time I get close to someone, the curse ruins it. I want this, whatever this is. But what if it's just the bond tricking us? What if I hurt you? He's quiet for a moment, the only sound the fire's soft snap. Then he moves, not across the fire, but around it, kneeling beside me. He's close, too close, and my pulse races, fear and something else tangling in my chest. Amara, he says, his voice a low rumble. The bond isn't a trick, it's real, and what I feel, it's not just the curse, it's you. His words hit like a spark, igniting something deep inside me. I look up, and his eyes are on me, intense but soft, like he sees past the curse to the girl I used to be. I don't know how to do this, I admit, my voice trembling. I want to believe you, but I'm terrified. What if my touch, what if it breaks you like it did everyone else? My hands clench, nails digging into my palms as the fear I've carried for years spills over. I can't lose you, Thorne, not when you're the first person who hasn't run. He doesn't answer with words. Instead, he leans forward, slow and deliberate, giving me time to pull away. I don't. His hand lifts, hesitating, then gently presses against my forehead, his skin warm against mine. My breath catches, waiting for the curse to flare, for the fear to twist his face. But it doesn't. There's no recoil, no terror. Just his touch, steady and grounding, like an anchor in a storm. He lingers there, his thumb brushing lightly, and I feel a rush of warmth. Not the curse, but something deeper, something that feels like possibility. You won't break me, he murmurs, his voice barely above the fire's crackle. I'm here, Amara. I'm not going anywhere. His hand falls away, but his eyes hold mine, and the space between us feels charged, alive with something I can't name. Desire, maybe, or hope. For the first time, I let myself wonder if this could be real, if I could have this, have him, without the curse tearing it apart. The fire burns low, the night stretching around us, and I'm left on the edge of something new, something terrifying and beautiful.
Could this be more than a bond? Could it be us? Chapter 6. Claimed amid whispers. The clearing was alive with the hum of the pack, their voices a low murmur under the fading light of dusk. The air carried the scent of pine and smoke from the central fire, its flames licking the sky as if mirroring the tension building in my chest. I'm Amara, the cursed wanderer, and tonight, standing beside Thorne, I felt like a stranger in a place that should have been home. He'd brought me to this gathering, his hand brushing close to mine, but never touching, a silent promise of protection. Thorne wasn't just the enigmatic stranger who'd found me by the lake. He was a lone alpha, driven by a quiet resolve to rebuild a pack scattered by betrayal years ago. Tonight, he'd told me he would claim me as his mate before them all, a declaration to bind us, to make me part of this fledgling family. But the weight of my curse, the fear it sparked in others, pressed against me like a storm waiting to break.
The pack wasn't large. Maybe 30 souls, a mix of weathered warriors, cautious elders, and wide-eyed children, but their eyes were on us, sharp and searching. Thorne stood tall, his presence commanding, his dark hair catching the firelight as he stepped forward. I lingered a step behind, my heart pounding, my hands clenched to keep them from trembling. The murmurs started softly, a ripple of whispers among the crowd, but I caught the words, cursed, danger, why her? My throat tightened. I'd spent years running from those whispers, and now they followed me here, to a place where I dared to hope for something more. Listen, Thorne's voice cut through the murmurs, deep and steady, silencing the crowd. You know me. You know why I've called you here, to rebuild what was lost, to forge a pact stronger than before. His gaze swept over them, unwavering, before settling on me, softening just enough to make my chest ache. Amara is my choice, my mate. She's not just part of this pack. She's my equal, my strength. Together, we'll lead you into a future worth fighting for. The words should have warmed me, should have felt like a shield against the world, but the murmurs grew louder, sharper, like blades drawn in the dark. An elder, her face lined with years and suspicion, stepped forward. Thorne, we trust you, she said, her voice measured but cold. But her, she's cursed. We've heard the stories. Her touch brings fear, drives people away. How can we accept a Luna who endangers us all? My stomach twisted, the old wound of rejection splitting open. I wanted to shrink back, to disappear into the forest like I always had, but Thorne's hand grazed my arm. Not touching, just close enough to ground me. Amara, he said softly, turning to me, his eyes fierce with conviction. Say something. They need to hear you. I froze. My voice caught in my throat. Every instinct screamed to run, to spare him this fight, to protect him from the curse that defined me. But his gaze held me, a plea wrapped in strength, and I couldn't look away. I don't want to hurt anyone, I started, my voice shaky but growing steadier. I've lived with this curse for years, alone, because I know what it does. I never asked for it. A ritual went wrong, tied to my bloodline, and it made me this thing people fear. I swallowed, my eyes darting to the crowd, their faces a mix of doubt and curiosity. But Thorne believes in me. He thinks I can be more than the curse. I want to believe him, but I'm scared. Scared I'll hurt him, hurt you all. The honesty poured out, raw and jagged, and for a moment the clearing was silent. Thorne stepped closer, his voice low, meant for me alone. You're not a thing, Amara. You're everything. I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm asking you to stand with me, to fight this with me. I choose you, curse and all, because I see you. His words were a lifeline,
pulling me from the edge of my fear. But the pack's whispers swelled again, cutting through the moment. A warrior, broad and scarred, pushed forward, his voice rough. "Thorne, you're our alpha, but this choice, it's reckless. She's a risk we can't afford. What if her curse spreads? What if it weakens us?" The crowd stirred, nods and murmurs rippling through them. The beta, a lean man with sharp eyes, crossed his arms, his silence louder than words. The tension was palpable, a crack forming in the fragile unity Thorne was trying to build.
I turned to him, my heart racing, the weight of their doubt pressing down. "Thorne, they're right," I whispered, my voice breaking. "I'm a danger to you, to them. I can't let you risk everything for me." My hands trembled, the urge to flee clawing at me, but his gaze held me fast, fierce and unyielding. "No," he said, loud enough for the pack to hear, his voice a growl of determination. "You're not running, Amara. Not from me, not from this. We face this together, or we don't face it at all." His words hung in the air, a challenge to the pack, to me, to the curse itself. But the whispers didn't stop. They grew, a rising tide of doubt and fear, threatening to drown us both. I stood there, caught between his faith and the pack's mistrust, wondering if our bond could survive the storm gathering around us. Chapter 7. Fractures in the Pack. The days following Thorne's declaration felt like walking on cracking ice, each step threatening to plunge me into the cold unknown. I'm Amara, the girl marked by a curse that turns touch into terror, and what started as whispers in the pack had grown into something sharper, more dangerous. Thorne, my steadfast alpha, had claimed me as his mate before them all, but the pack, his pack, pieced together from lone wolves and survivors, wasn't ready to accept me. I could see the fractures forming, subtle at first, like hairline cracks in stone, but deepening with every passing hour. The beta, a wiry man named Kale, with eyes like flint and a voice that carried authority, was at the heart of it. He'd been loyal to Thorne once, but now his rallies against me were pulling others into the fold, accusing me of being the wedge that would split their fragile unity. It started quietly, in the shadows of the camp. I'd catch glimpses of him gathering small groups by the edge of the clearing, his gestures sharp, his words low but insistent. "She's cursed," I overheard him say one afternoon, his voice slicing through the air like a blade. "Thorne's blinded by whatever bond he thinks he has with her. It's weakening him, weakening us. We've fought too hard to rebuild, only to let some tainted outsider drag us down." The words stung, echoing the fears I'd carried for years since that fateful ritual twisted my bloodline into something fearful. The pack members nodded, their faces grim, doubt seeding in their eyes. Warriors who'd once nodded respectfully now averted their gazes when I passed. Elders muttered about omens, and even the children with their innocent curiosity were pulled away by wary parents. The betrayal wasn't a sudden storm. It was a slow erosion, wearing away the trust Thorne had built. Thorne noticed, of course. He was an alpha through and through, his senses attuned to the pack's pulse. But he held firm, his presence a shield around me as we moved through the days. We'd trained together in the mornings, his guidance patient as I honed my skills, careful never to let our skin meet. Afternoons were spent planning, scouting paths, gathering supplies, but the undercurrent of tension was always there. "They'll come around," he'd say, his voice a low reassurance, but I could see the strain in his jaw, the way his eyes darkened when he thought I wasn't looking. The pack was his family, his purpose, and my presence was testing bonds I didn't mean to strain.
The confrontation came that evening by the central fire where the pack gathered for meals and stories. The flames roared high, casting long shadows that danced like accusations across the faces around us. I sat beside Thorne, my hands folded in my lap, trying to make myself small, but Kayel wouldn't let it rest. He strode into the circle, his posture rigid, flanked by a few warriors who'd sided with him. The murmurs hushed, the air thickening with anticipation. "Alpha," Kayel began, his voice steady but laced with challenge. "We need to talk. About her. He jerked his head toward me, his eyes cold. Your choice is dividing us. She's a curse, literally. Her touch sows fear. Her presence invites disaster. You're our leader, but this obsession is making you weak. We can't afford weakness, not after everything we've lost. The pack shifted, a collective breath held. I felt the weight of their stares, the old isolation creeping back like fog. Thorne rose slowly, his frame towering, his voice a growl that commanded silence. "Kael, you forget yourself," he said, fierce and unyielding. "Amara is my mate, chosen not out of blindness but strength. The curse is a challenge, yes, but one we'll overcome, together. She's not a threat, she's our future. Question me again, and you question the pack itself." His defense was a firestorm, protective and absolute, sending a warmth through me despite the chill of the night. But as he spoke, I saw the doubts creep in, not just in the pack, but in the subtle hesitations around us. A warrior averted his eyes, an elder shook her head faintly. Kael didn't back down. "It's not a question, Alpha, it's a warning. Whispers are turning to plans. If you won't see the risk, others will act." The words hung heavy, a subtle splintering evident in the way the group fractured, some nodding with Kael, others glancing uncertainly at Thorne. The unity was cracking, loyalties dividing, like a river forking paths. I couldn't stay silent. "Thorne," I whispered, standing to face him, my voice trembling but clear. "He's right. I'm endangering you, all of you. Maybe I should go." The admission tore at me, but the pack's betrayal, the growing rift, was too much to ignore. Thorne's eyes flashed, but he turned to me, his voice softening. "No, Amara, we retreat for now, but we don't run." He addressed the pack one last time, his tone final. "Think on this. Division weakens us more than any curse." Then, with a firm hand on my shoulder, close but not touching, he led me away from the fire, into the shadows of the trees. We retreated to the edge of the camp, the cabin's familiar outline a sanctuary amid the chaos. The night air was cool, the stars indifferent overhead, but as we walked, Thorne's presence anchored me. "They'll see," he said quietly, stopping to face me. "But even if they don't, I choose you. We face this together, curse, pack, all of it." Tears pricked my eyes, but his words strengthened the bond between us, a private vow in the darkness. "Together," I echoed, the chaos fading as we held each other's gaze. In that moment, amid the splintering pack, our connection deepened, a quiet promise that no betrayal could break.
Chapter 8. The Breaking Kiss. The night air was thick with unspoken words, wrapping around us like a shroud as Thorne and I walked through the shadowed paths of the forest. I am Amara, the bearer of a curse that turns every touch into a nightmare of fear. And in the days since the pack's fractures deepened, I'd felt the pull between us growing stronger, more insistent. The cabin, once a sanctuary, now felt too small, too charged with the tension we both tried to ignore. Thorne had suggested the walk to clear our heads, to escape the weight of the beta's betrayal and the pack's splintering loyalties. But as we moved deeper into the woods, the stars peeking through the canopy like distant witnesses, I knew it was more than that. The bond he'd described, the twisted tie from my cursed bloodline, was alive, humming between us, drawing us closer with every step. We didn't speak at first, the crunch of leaves under our boots the only sound. Thorne walked beside me, his presence a steady warmth that made my skin tingle, even without contact. I stole glances at him, the moonlight carving his features in silver, his strong jaw, the intensity in his eyes that always seemed to see right through me. The attraction had been building, unspoken but undeniable. In the shared meals, the late-night talks, the way his gaze lingered a second too long. It terrified me, this desire, because I knew what it could cost. The curse wasn't just fear. It was a barrier, a warning.
But tonight, with the pack's chaos fading behind us, it felt like we were in a world of our own, where maybe, just maybe, the rules could bend. "Amara," Thorne said, finally, his voice low, breaking the silence like a ripple on still water. He stopped, turning to face me, the path narrowing so we were inches apart. His breath was visible in the cool air, mingling with mine. I hesitated, my heart pounding. "Everything," I admitted, my voice barely a whisper. "The pack, the curse, us." The last word hung between us, heavy with meaning. I looked up at him, searching his eyes, and saw it there. The same longing, the same fire that burned in me. "I want this, Thorne. I want you, but I'm so afraid." He stepped closer, his hand lifting as if to touch my cheek, but he paused, remembering. "I know," he murmured, his voice rough with emotion, "but the bond, it's stronger than the fear. Let me show you." His words were a plea, a promise, and in that moment, the world narrowed to just us, the forest fading, the curse a distant echo. I didn't pull away. Instead, I leaned in, closing the gap, my lips meeting his in a kiss that shattered the barriers I'd built. It started soft, tentative, a brush of warmth that sent sparks through me, but then it deepened, passionate and urgent, his arms wrapping around me without hesitation. For a blissful second, it was everything. His taste, his strength, the way he held me like I was precious, not poisoned. Desire surged, overriding everything, and I kissed him back with all the longing I'd suppressed for years. But then it happened, a jolt, sharp and vicious, like lightning striking from within. The curse awakened, its full fury roaring to life, twisting the bond into something dark and destructive. Thorne gasped against my lips, his body stiffening, his grip tightening in pain rather than passion. He pulled back, his face contorting in agony, eyes wide with shock. "Amara!" he choked out, staggering, his hands clutching his chest as if an invisible force was tearing him apart. Horror flooded me, cold and absolute. "Thorne!" I cried, reaching for him as he collapsed to his knees, the leaves crunching under his weight. His breath came in ragged gasps, his skin paling under the moonlight, veins standing out like dark rivers. I dropped beside him, my hands hovering, terrified to touch, but desperate to help. "No, no, please hold on." Guilt surged like a tidal wave, drowning me in regret. This was my fault, my curse, my desire. I'd let myself believe we could have this, and now he was paying the price, writhing in pain that I'd unleashed. We couldn't stay there, exposed. With strength I didn't know I had, I helped him up, his arms slung over my shoulder, careful to avoid skin contact. We stumbled deeper into the woods, away from the path, until we found a hidden thicket, a cluster of boulders shielding us from view. I lowered him gently, tearing strips from my cloak to bind whatever invisible wounds the curse had inflicted. His breaths were shallow, his eyes fluttering as sweat beaded on his forehead. "I'm sorry," I whispered over and over, tears streaming down my face. I should have known. I should have stopped. As I tended to him, fragments of lore Thorne had shared flashed in my mind. The ancient texts, the bloodline flaw from the ritual. The curse wasn't just fear. It demanded more. A ritual sacrifice. He'd mentioned once. A price to sever its hold completely. One of us would have to give everything, life itself, to break it. The realization hit like a blow. This kiss, this culmination of our desire, had triggered its deepest fury. It wasn't content with isolation anymore. It wanted payment. Thorne's hand weakly grasped mine through the fabric, his voice a rasp. "Amara, don't blame yourself." But I did, watching him suffer, the man who'd given me hope, who'd fought for me against his own pack. I couldn't bear it. Desperation hardened into resolve. I had to seek answers, find a way to end this before it claimed him entirely. The seer from the old stories, hidden in the forest's heart, she might know. As the night deepened, I vowed silently. I'd save him, no matter the cost. The curse had broken our kiss, but it wouldn't break us. Chapter 9. The Ritual's Price. The forest swallowed me whole as I ventured deeper into its heart, leaving Thorne behind in our hidden thicket, his breaths shallow and labored. I'm Amara, the one cursed by a bloodline flaw that turned my touch into a harbinger of fear. And after that devastating kiss unleashed the curse's fury upon him, I knew I couldn't wait any longer. Guilt clawed at me like thorns, each step forward a reminder of my failure, but desperation fueled me. The ancient seer, whispers from Thorne's lore, a figure from forgotten tales, was my only hope.
She dwelled in the deepest woods, where the trees grew twisted and ancient, guarding secrets older than the packs themselves. The night was alive with sounds, owls hooting warnings, branches creaking like old bones, the wind whispering doubts. But I pressed on, my knife at my belt, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and resolve. I had to find answers, a way to break this curse before it claimed the man who'd become my everything. The path wasn't marked. It was a feeling, a pull deeper than the bond Thorne had described. Hours blurred as I navigated tangled roots and dense underbrush, the moonlight filtering through leaves like fractured glass. My mind raced back to the ritual that started it all, my 18th birthday, the elders' chants, the energy that twisted wrong because of that hidden ancestor's pact with the moon goddess, broken and vengeful. If anyone could unravel it, it was the seer. Finally, as dawn's first light pierced the canopy, I stumbled into a clearing. There she was, an ethereal figure cloaked in shadows and vines, her eyes glowing with an otherworldly wisdom. She sat on a moss-covered stone, as if she'd been waiting for me all along. "You seek to break what was forged in blood," she said, her voice like rustling leaves, ancient and knowing. I froze, my breath catching. She didn't ask my name. She knew. "Amara, child of the flawed line, the curse clings to you, born from the ritual's betrayal, a pact shattered centuries ago, demanding fear as its toll." I knelt before her, my voice trembling. "Please tell me how to end it. It's hurting him. Thorne," I kissed him, "and now he's dying. I'll do anything." The seer's gaze pierced me, seeing truths I hadn't voiced. The curse is no simple spell. It's a bond of surrender and sacrifice, tied to its origins. To break it, you must both surrender completely. Bare your hearts, your fears, then the sacrifice. Go now, before the pursuers find you. The pack stirs, betrayal brews. I left the clearing with her words echoing in my mind, the weight of them crushing. The journey back was a blur, my feet carrying me through the woods as the sun climbed higher. Thorne was where I'd left him, propped against a boulder, his face pale, his breathing ragged. Seeing him like that, strong, unyielding Thorne, reduced to this by my curse, broke something in me. I dropped beside him, my hands hovering, careful not to touch.
"Amara," he rasped, his eyes fluttering open, filled with pain but also relief. "You're back." Tears streamed down my face as I recounted everything, the seer, the surrender, the sacrifice. "It's tied to the ritual, to my bloodline. To break it, we have to surrender everything to each other. And then one of us has to die. My voice cracked, the horror of it spilling out. I love you, Thorne. I've loved you since you found me by the lake, since you saw me without fear. But I can't ask you to die for me. I won't. He reached for me, his hand weak but determined, grasping my sleeve. Amara, listen. His voice was strained, but his eyes burned with intensity. I love you too, more than the pack, more than my life. If sacrifice is the price, I'll pay it. I've lived alone, rebuilding from nothing, but you deserve freedom. Let me give that to you. No, I whispered fiercely, shaking my head. I can't lose you. We surrender first, bare our souls, like she said. Maybe there's a way around the sacrifice. We debate this, Thorne, together. We did, our words tumbling in a vulnerable rush. He confessed his fears of failing the pack, of not being enough for me. I shared mine, the isolation, the guilt, the terror of hurting him. It was raw, intimate, a reconciliation that strengthened our bond, even as the curse's pain lingered in him. We're in this, he said, pulling me closer, without touching skin, no matter what. But as we spoke, the distant howls echoed, pack pursuers, the beta's betrayal closing in. We were on the brink, the decision looming like a shadow. Surrender had begun, but the sacrifice? Who would it be? The sounds grew nearer, forcing us to the edge of choice. Chapter 10. Dawn of Freedom. The forest pulsed with danger, the air thick with the howls of the pack closing in. I'm Amara, the girl whose curse turned my touch into terror, and now as Thorne and I crouched in the hidden thicket, the weight of the seer's words pressed down like a storm. One life to break the curse, a sacrifice demanded by the ancient ritual that bound my bloodline. Thorne's hand gripped my sleeve, his face pale but resolute despite the pain racking his body from our cursed kiss. We end this now, he whispered, his voice hoarse but fierce. Together. But the distant snarls grew louder, the beta's betrayal driving the pack towards us like wolves scenting blood. There was no more running, only the choice that would define us. We stumbled toward the lake, the same place where the curse first shattered my life years ago. The moonlight shimmered on the water, a silver mirror reflecting the truth we couldn't escape. Thorne's plan was reckless, born of love and desperation. He would offer himself, his life for mine, to satisfy the curse's demand. No, I pleaded, my voice breaking as I grabbed his arm, careful to avoid skin. I won't let you die for me. But his eyes burning with that unyielding fire silenced my protest. I love you, Amara, he said, his words a vow. This is my choice. Before I could stop him, he stepped into the clearing, raising his hands as if to summon the ritual's power, his voice calling out to the moon goddess herself.
The pack burst through the trees, led by Cowl, his face twisted with triumph and rage. "She's a danger," he shouted, his warriors fanning out, their eyes glinting with distrust. "End her, Thorne, or we will." But Thorne stood firm, his body trembling from the curse's lingering pain. "She's my mate," he roared, his alpha presence silencing the crowd, "and I'll give everything to free her." He turned to me, his gaze softening, and began the ritual chant, a cadence echoing the one from my 18th birthday, but this time infused with his surrender, his love. I felt it too, the bond between us surging, a thread of light against the curse's darkness. I couldn't let him go alone. I stepped beside him, my voice joining his, our words intertwining as we bared our souls, our fears, our love, our hope. The air crackled, the lake glowing brighter, as if the moon goddess herself was listening. But then Thorne faltered, his knees buckling, the curse's fury tearing at him. "Take me," he gasped, offering himself fully, his life for the ritual's price. Panic seized me, and I grabbed his face, ignoring the risk, my hands on his skin. The curse roared, but so did our bond, stronger, fiercer. "No," I whispered, tears streaming. "We do this together, or not at all."
A blinding light erupted not from us, but from above, the moonlight coalescing into a radiant figure, the moon goddess, her presence both gentle and fierce. "You have surrendered," she spoke, her voice like a song woven from stars. "Your love, your endurance, has rewritten the pact. The curse is broken, not by one life, but by two hearts united." The light enveloped us, warm and alive, and I felt the curse unravel, its weight lifting like mist burning away in dawn's first rays. Thorne's pain faded, his breathing steadying, his eyes clearing as he looked at me, whole and healed. The pack stood frozen, Cowl's defiance faltering under the goddess's presence. I reached for Thorne's hand, truly touched him, skin to skin, for the first time. No fear, no recoil, just warmth, his fingers lacing with mine. The pack saw it, their murmur shifting from doubt to awe. One by one they knelt, even Cowl, his head bowed in reluctant acceptance. "You're free," Thorne whispered, pulling me close, his forehead against mine. "We're free." Days later, the pack gathered again, this time in unity. Thorne and I stood as equals, Alpha and Luna, our bond a beacon of strength. The warriors who doubted now trained beside me, the elders shared their stories, and the children ran to me without fear. Our union was a celebration under the stars, laughter and music filling the Silverwood, a future unfolding where there once was only shadows. We rebuilt, not just a pack, but a home, peaceful, strong, ours. And as we stand here now, unbreakable, I know our story's just beginning. The curse that once defined me is gone, replaced by love, by hope, by a pack that calls me theirs. If this tale of curses turned to strength resonated with you, hit that subscribe button to join our pack of dreamers. We've got more adventures waiting under the moon.